The galactic hegemony had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 7 species shared power across 10,000 worlds. They had long ago decided that war was too expensive and too painful. Peace was better. Order was better. Control was best of all. Their scout ships traveled to every corner of the galaxy, mapping stars and cataloging worlds. Most planets they found were empty. Some had simple life. A few had intelligent creatures who were quickly brought under hegemony protection. Protection meant rules. Rules meant safety. Safety meant the hegemony stayed in control. When Scout Vessel 447 entered an unremarkable solar system on the galaxy's edge, its crew expected nothing special. The system had 8 planets, 1 star, and seemed ordinary in every way. Then their sensors picked up radio signals from the 3rd planet. Artificial signals. Organized patterns. Communication. The scout crew ran their standard assessment. They found a world of 8 billion beings. These creatures called themselves humans. They had already split the atom and used its power. They had walked on their moon. They were building machines to visit their neighboring planets. They were reaching upward, outward, toward the stars. The crew sent their report to Hegemony High Command. The analysts there ran their projections. They calculated how quickly humans were advancing. They measured the speed of human innovation. They estimated when humans would discover faster-than-light travel. The answer came back the same every time they ran the numbers. 200 years. Maybe less. This was a problem. The hegemony did not like problems. New species were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to need guidance. They were supposed to accept their place in the order of things. Humans were advancing too fast. They were too aggressive, too curious, too hungry. They could not be guided. They had to be controlled. Ambassador Telos was chosen for first contact. She was a member of the Veth Collective, a species of crystalline beings known for their patience and diplomacy. She had negotiated treaties, ended conflicts, and brought 17 worlds into the hegemony peacefully. She was the best they had. Her ship entered Earth orbit on a Tuesday morning. Every satellite, every telescope, every radar system on the planet saw her arrive. Humans had imagined this moment for centuries. They had written stories about it, made movies about it, dreamed about it. Now it was real. The United Nations assembled a delegation within hours. They chose Park Do-yeon to lead it. He was 62 years old, a former general who had turned to diplomacy after growing tired of war. He was known for his calm voice and sharp mind. He never raised his voice. He never needed to. Beside him was Kim Yuna, Earth's leading expert in languages and communication. She had spent 20 years preparing for a moment everyone else thought was impossible. She had developed theories about how alien languages might work. She had created systems for translation. She had hoped she would never need them. Now she did. The meeting took place in Geneva. Ambassador Telos materialized in the conference room in a flash of light. She was tall and elegant, her body made of something that looked like living glass. When she moved, light bent around her in beautiful patterns. She spoke, and her words somehow became sounds that humans could understand. I bring greetings from the Galactic Hegemony. We are an alliance of 7 species spanning 10,000 worlds. We have watched your development with interest. Do-yeon stood and bowed respectfully. We are honored by your visit. Humanity has long wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we are not. Telos inclined her head. Indeed, the universe is vast and full of life. The hegemony maintains peace and order among the stars. We are here to discuss humanity's place in that order. She explained the options. The first was protectorate status. Humanity would receive guidance from older, wiser species. Certain technologies would be restricted for safety. Hegemony observers would monitor human development. In return, humanity would have access to trade, medicine, and knowledge. The second option was quarantine. Humanity would be isolated from the galactic community. No ships would leave their solar system. No communications would reach the stars. Earth would develop alone, watched but not contacted. Until the hegemony decided otherwise, Yuna listened carefully to every word. She noticed what Tellus did not say. There was no third option. There was no discussion of equality or partnership. Humanity could be a child or a prisoner. Those were the only choices. Do-yun's expression did not change. He had negotiated with dictators and warlords. He knew the sound of an ultimatum. He knew the smell of fear dressed up as generosity. These are significant matters, he said calmly. We will need time to consider them. Tellus agreed. She gave them 1 month. After she left, Do-yun stood at the window and looked up at the sky. Yuna joined him. For a long moment, neither spoke. They're afraid of us, Do-yun finally said. This is not how you welcome neighbors. This is how you cage animals. Yuna nodded slowly. They have ruled for 12,000 years. They have a system that works. We threaten that system simply by existing. What do we do? Yuna considered the question. We cannot accept their protection. It is not protection. It is a leash. But we also cannot survive quarantine. We would fall behind. In 1,000 years, we would be nothing. Do-yun turned to face her. Then we need a third option. In the month that followed, humanity argued. Some wanted to accept the hegemony's offer. Safety was better than pride. Others wanted to fight immediately. Better to die free than live as slaves. Most were simply afraid. Do-yun spent the month in meetings. He talked to presidents and generals, scientists and philosophers. He asked them all the same question. What kind of species do we want to be? The answer came slowly, but it came clearly. Humanity had never accepted limits. They had crossed oceans, climbed mountains, walked on the moon. They had always reached for more. They could not stop now. They would not stop now. When Tellus returned for humanity's answer, Do-yun met her with the same calm expression. But his words were different. We thank the hegemony for its offer, he said. But we must decline both options. Humanity will determine its own future. We will reach the stars on our own terms. Tellus stared at him. In 12,000 years, no species had refused. You do not understand what you are choosing. The hegemony will not allow this. Do-yun nodded. We understand perfectly. That is why we refuse. He turned to Yuna and spoke quietly. It begins. Tellus departed. Within hours, hegemony ships began moving toward Earth. The galactic hegemony had given humanity a choice, and humanity had chosen defiance. They would learn what that meant. The hegemony moved quickly. Within 1 week of humanity's refusal, 300 warships surrounded the Sol system. They formed a sphere around the sun, each ship positioned with mathematical precision. Nothing could enter. Nothing could leave. Admiral Veth commanded the blockade fleet. He was old even by hegemony standards, a veteran of conflicts that humans had never heard of. He had enforced quarantines before. Younger species always resisted at first. They always submitted in the end. Time was patient. The hegemony was more patient still. On Earth, panic spread. People looked up at the sky and knew that enemies waited there. Governments declared emergencies. Markets crashed. Some people built shelters. Others prayed. Many simply waited for the end, but humanity had faced extinction before. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. They had always found a way. They would find one now. Admiral Choi Min-ho was given command of the United Earth Defense Force. He was 54 years old, a naval officer who had spent his career preparing for wars against other humans. Now he faced an enemy from the stars. His fleet was small. His ships were primitive. His chances were almost zero. Almost zero was not zero. Mho gathered his officers and spoke plainly. We cannot match them in technology. We cannot match them in numbers. We cannot match them in experience. So we will not try. We will fight our own way. We will make them bleed for every victory. We will teach them that humans are not worth the cost. His strategy was simple. Do not fight fair. Do not follow their rules. Do not do what they expect. While Minho planned military action, Dr. Beeksahi led Project Prometheus. She was a physicist, 41 years old, known for her brilliant mind and her complete lack of patience. She had been given one task: find a way to match hegemony technology. She had been given 1 year to do it. She told her team it was not enough time. Then she got to work. Humanity had captured a few pieces of alien technology over the years. Crashed probes. Lost satellites? Debris from the scout ship? Sahi and her team studied every piece. They took them apart molecule by molecule. They learned how they worked, but learning was not enough. Hegemony technology was elegant and refined, developed over thousands of years. Humans could not copy it. They did not have the materials or the knowledge. They needed something else. We cannot build what they build, Sahi told her team. So we build what we can, faster, rougher, uglier, but ours. They worked 20 hours a day. They slept in the lab. They ate at their desks. They argued and shouted and sometimes threw things. Slowly, they made progress. The breakthrough came at 3:47 in the morning. A young engineer named Kwon Jasu found a way to generate a faster-than-light field using human materials. The field was unstable. It consumed enormous amounts of power. It ran so hot that it could melt its own containment systems. But it worked. Sahi looked at the numbers and laughed. It was ugly. It was dangerous. It was perfect. Within 3 months, the first human FTL engine was installed in a warship. Within 6 months, 47 ships were equipped. They were not elegant like hegemony vessels. They were brutal and loud and ran on the edge of exploding. But they could reach the stars. Admiral Minho named the operation Thunderbreak. The attack came without warning. Hegemony sensors detected the human fleet moving toward the blockade line. Admiral Veth was not concerned. 47 ships against 300. The math was simple. He ordered his fleet to intercept and destroy. He did not expect what happened. Next, the human ships did not form battle lines. They did not advance in order. They scattered. They hid behind planets and moons. They powered down their engines and drifted like debris. They appeared where they should not be and vanished before they could be targeted. Minho had studied every war in human history. He knew that smaller forces could defeat larger ones. He knew that speed and surprise could overcome strength. He knew that the enemy's expectations were his greatest weapon. The hegemony expected a battle. Minho gave them a hunt. Human ships struck at supply vessels and communication relays. They attacked sensor platforms and command ships. They hit targets that were undefended because the hegemony never imagined they would be attacked. They did damage and ran before the enemy could respond. Admiral Veth grew frustrated. His ships were faster and stronger, but they could not catch enemies that refused to stand and fight. Every time he concentrated his forces, the humans appeared somewhere else. Every time he spread out to cover more space, the humans attacked his weak points. The battle lasted 9 hours. In the end, Minho gathered his remaining ships for one final push. 29 vessels against the hegemony's core formation. It was a desperate move. It should have failed, but the hegemony was tired and confused. Their formation was damaged. Their commanders were angry and making mistakes. Minho saw the opening and took it. The human fleet drove straight through the center of the blockade. They lost 11 more ships in the attack. Captains rammed their vessels into enemy guns rather than retreat. Crews fought until their ships broke apart around them. They did not surrender. They did not stop. When the smoke cleared, 18 human ships remained. The blockade was broken. The path to the stars was open. Admiral Veth looked at the wreckage and felt something he had not felt in centuries: fear. He sent his report to Hegemony High Command. They should not have won. They cannot have won. But they did? These humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They do not accept defeat. They do not calculate odds. They simply refuse to lose. On Earth, the news spread instantly. Humanity had faced an impossible enemy and won. People cheered in the streets. They cried and hugged strangers. For the first time since the blockade began, they felt hope. Admiral Minho did not celebrate. He stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship and looked at the casualty reports. Thousands dead. Good people, brave people, gone forever. The cost was terrible, but the message was clear. Humanity would not be contained. Humanity would not be controlled. The cage was broken, and they were free. Dr. Sahi watched the battle footage in her lab. She saw ships explode. She saw crews die. She saw the price of her work written in fire and blood. Then she turned back to her calculations. The war was not over. It was just beginning. Humanity would need better ships, better weapons, better everything. She would give them what they needed, whatever it cost. In the halls of hegemony power, urgent meetings convened. For the first time in 12,000 years, a young species had defied them and survived. The old order trembled. A new age was coming. And humanity would lead it. News of the broken blockade spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species, every world, every being with access to communications heard the story. A young species from a small planet had defied the galactic hegemony. They had fought against impossible odds and won. For most of the galaxy, this was unthinkable. The hegemony had ruled for 12,000 years. They were ancient and powerful and eternal. No one challenged them. No one even considered it. To resist was to be destroyed. Everyone knew this, but humans had not been destroyed. They had won. On Asteria Prime, the capital world of the hegemony. The ruling council met in emergency session. The 7-member species sent their highest representatives. They gathered in the Hall of Unity, a chamber that had stood for 10,000 years, and they argued about what to do. Some wanted immediate war. Crush the humans now, before they grew stronger. Make an example of them. Show the galaxy what happened to species that defied the order. Others urged caution. The humans had already proven dangerous. A direct attack might cost too much. Better to isolate them, contain them, wait for them to weaken. Commander Rowe was called to give his assessment. He was a soldier, not a politician. He had 4 arms and skin like stone. He had fought in a dozen conflicts and never lost. He spoke plainly because he did not know any other way. I have studied the battle recordings, he said. I have analyzed their tactics, their weapons, their behavior. Here is what I know. These humans adapt faster than any species on record. Every engagement teaches them something. Every defeat makes them stronger. They learn from their mistakes and they do not repeat them. The council listened in silence. If we attack them now, we will probably win. But we will pay a heavy price? And those who survive will learn from the battle. They will come back stronger. If we wait and isolate them, they will use the time to build. In 50 years, they will match us. In 100, they will surpass us. One of the council members leaned forward. Then what do you suggest? Rose's stone face showed no expression. I suggest we take them seriously. I suggest we stop treating them like primitives and start treating them like the threat they are. Because if we do not, they will destroy us. The council argued for 3 more days. In the end, they chose a middle path. They would prepare for war but not start one. They would watch the humans and wait for a mistake. They would be patient. It was exactly what humanity wanted. Captain Li Jiwo was 28 years old. She had joined the defense force the day after the blockade began. She had trained for 6 months, fought in Operation Thunderbreak, and survived when her ship was destroyed around her. She had been promoted 3 times. Now she commanded a cruiser called the Morning Star. Her orders were simple. Go beyond the Sol system. Find allies. Bring them home. The galaxy was not empty. The hegemony controlled 10,000 worlds, but there were places even they did not rule. The spaces between empires. The forgotten corners. The species that had been conquered or destroyed or simply left behind. Jiwoo went to find them. Her first stop was a dying world called Remnant. It had once been home to a proud species called the Ven. They had built great cities and sailed between stars. Then they had resisted the hegemony. The war had lasted 50 years. In the end, the Ven were nearly extinct. A few thousand survived on their ruined homeworld. Forgotten by everyone, Jiwoo landed her ship in what had once been their capital. The buildings were empty and crumbling. Plants grew through the streets. It looked like a grave. An old Ven met her at the landing site. His name was Torvak. He had gray skin and tired eyes. He looked at Jiwoo and her human crew with something between hope and suspicion. "Why are you here?" he asked. "No one comes here." Jiwoo bowed respectfully. "We came because we heard your story. We came because we face the same enemy. We came because we need your help." Torvik laughed bitterly. "Our help? Look around you. We are nothing. We have nothing. We lost everything fighting the hegemony. What could we possibly offer you?" Jiwoo looked at the ruins and saw something different than Torvak did. She saw a people who had fought against impossible odds. She saw survivors. She saw strength. "You have knowledge," she said. "You fought them for 50 years? You know how they think, how they plan, how they make war. You have technology we have never seen. And you have something else." "What? A reason to fight?" Torvik stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Come with me. There are things I must show you." The Ven had hidden their greatest treasures before the end. Libraries of knowledge. Weapons that had never been used. Ships that had never flown. They had buried them and waited, hoping someday someone would come. Jiwoo sent a message to Earth. Found allies. Found knowledge. This changes everything. She did not stop there. Her next destination was the Drift, a region of space between major systems where no government ruled. Here lived the Wanderers, a species that had never joined the hegemony. They lived on ships, moving constantly, trading and exploring. They knew routes and passages that no map showed. They knew secrets the hegemony had never discovered. Their leader was called Myra. She was small and quick, with silver eyes that missed nothing. She listened to Jiwoo's offer and smiled. "You want us to help you fight the hegemony," she said. "That is dangerous, yes. They will come for us eventually anyway. They always do." Myra's smile grew wider. "Very well, human. We will help you. But only because I want to see what happens next." Jiwoo traveled for 6 months. She visited 12 worlds and spoke to dozens of species. Some refused her. Some were too afraid, but many listened. Many remembered what the hegemony had taken from them. Many wanted revenge. When she returned to Earth, she brought more than allies. She brought a coalition. Species that had never worked together were now united by a common purpose. Destroy the hegemony. Build something better. Park Do-yeon met her when she landed. He was older now, grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. He looked at the reports and the star maps and the lists of allies, and he smiled. "You have done something remarkable," he said. "You have given us a chance." Jiwoo shook her head. "I just opened doors. The hard work is still ahead." She was right. The hegemony was watching. They saw the humans building alliances. They saw their old enemies rising again. They saw their control slipping away. Commander Rowe reviewed the intelligence reports and felt his stone heart grow heavy. He had warned them. He had told them the humans were dangerous. Now it was worse than he had predicted. "They are not just fighting us," he reported to the council. "They are inspiring others to fight. Every ally they gain makes them stronger. Every world that joins them weakens us. If we do not act soon, we will face not one enemy but many." The council finally agreed. No more waiting. No more patience. The hegemony would go to war, but humanity was ready. They had ships and weapons and allies. They had leaders who understood the enemy. They had something the hegemony had lost long ago. They had hope, and they would not let it go. The hegemony armada gathered at the edge of human space. 2,000 warships from all 7 member species. The largest fleet assembled in 3,000 years. Their mission was simple: crush the rebellion, destroy humanity. Restore order, Admiral Veth commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Will. He had been humiliated at the blockade. He had been mocked and questioned. Now he would have his revenge. He would burn Earth to ash and salt the ground where it stood. The target was New Sol, humanity's largest colony world. 300 million people lived there. Factories produced ships and weapons. Research centers developed new technologies. If it fell, the war would be half won. General O. Taiwan commanded the defense. He was 60 years old, a ground forces commander who had never lost a battle. He had studied every war in human history. He knew how smaller forces could defeat larger ones. He knew the cost of such victories. They outnumber us 10-1, his officers told him. They outgun us 20-1? We cannot win. Taiwan looked at them calmly. Then we will make losing cost them everything they have. He did not try to meet the enemy in open battle. Instead, he scattered his forces. He hid ships in asteroid fields and behind moons. He placed weapons on platforms that looked like debris. He turned the entire system into a trap. The hegemony fleet arrived expecting a fight. They found nothing. Empty space. Silent stations. A world that seemed undefended. Merlveth was suspicious, but also impatient. He ordered his fleet forward. The traps began to spring. Ships that looked dead came alive and fired. Mines exploded against hulls. Missiles launched from asteroids. Platforms that seemed abandoned revealed weapons and opened fire. Everywhere the hegemony looked, something attacked them. Veth ordered his fleet to respond. They destroyed the traps easily enough. But each trap cost them time. Each attack damaged ships and killed crew. Each minute that passed let the humans prepare more. The ground battle was worse. Hegemony troops landed on New Sol expecting quick victory. They found cities that had been turned into fortresses. Buildings were connected by tunnels. Streets were blocked by barriers. Every intersection was a kill zone. Sergeant Yoon Hejin commanded a unit of 40 soldiers defending a communications hub. The hub controlled signals across half the continent. If it fell, human forces would be blind and deaf. It could not fall. The enemy sent 2,000 troops to take it. Hejin looked at her soldiers. They were young, most of them, scared. They had trained for this, but training was not the same as reality. She needed to give them something to hold on to. Listen to me, she said. Those things out there think we are weak. They think we will break. They think we will run. They are wrong. We are human. We do not break. We do not run. We hold this position until reinforcements arrive or until we are all dead. There is no other option. Do you understand? They understood. The attack came at dawn. Hegemony soldiers advanced through the streets in perfect formation. They were bigger than humans, stronger, better equipped. They expected the fight to be short. Hejin let them get close. Then she gave the order. Every window, every rooftop, every doorway erupted with fire. Human soldiers attacked from all sides. The enemy formation broke apart in confusion. Bodies fell in the streets. The advance stopped. The hegemony regrouped and attacked again. And again. And again. Each time they came with more troops and heavier weapons. Each time Hejin's soldiers threw them back. The communications hub became a fortress of rubble and blood. Hours passed. Ammunition ran low. Soldiers fell. Hejin took a wound to her shoulder but kept fighting. She moved from position to position, directing fire, encouraging her troops, refusing to give ground. Sergeant, we cannot hold much longer, one of her soldiers reported. He was bleeding from a cut on his face. His hands were shaking. Hejin grabbed his arm. Yes, we can. Help is coming. We just have to last. They lasted. 18 hours after the attack began, human reinforcements broke through the enemy lines. Fresh troops poured into the communications hub. The hegemony assault finally fell back. Of Hejin's 40 soldiers, 11 survived. Reporters came later to interview her. They asked how she had done it. How had 40 soldiers held against 2,000 for 18 hours? Hejin looked at them with empty eyes. We did not have the option to lose. The Battle of New Sol lasted 3 days. When it ended, the hegemony had won. They controlled the planet. But the cost was catastrophic. They had lost 400 ships. They had lost 50,000 soldiers. They had expected a quick victory and found a nightmare. Admiral Veth looked at the casualty reports and felt sick. This was victory? This was success? At this rate, they would run out of ships before humanity ran out of fight. But something else happened. Something worse. The galaxy was watching. Every species with access to communications saw the battle. They saw humans die by the thousands and keep fighting. They saw soldiers hold impossible positions. They saw crews ram their ships into enemy guns rather than surrender. They saw defiance against certain defeat, and they asked themselves, if humans can do this, why can we not? Rebellion sparked on a dozen worlds. Species that had been quiet for centuries suddenly remembered their pride. Hegemony governors reported unrest and protests. Soldiers deserted. Officials resigned. The old order was cracking. Commander Rowe watched the reports come in and felt despair. He had warned them. He had told them the humans were dangerous. Now it was worse than anyone had imagined. We won the battle, he told the council. But we are losing the war. Every world we conquer costs us more than it is worth. Every victory makes us weaker. The humans do not need to defeat us. They just need to show others that we can be fought, the council argued. Some wanted to negotiate. Others wanted to commit everything to total war. They could not agree. They could not adapt. They could not understand an enemy that welcomed death if it meant freedom. On Earth, the news of New Sol hit hard. 300 million people under occupation. Cities destroyed. Families torn apart. It was a defeat, and everyone knew it, but it was not the end. Admiral Kong Yunji addressed the United Fleet. She was 42 years old. She had risen from fighter pilot to fleet commander in just 5 years of war. She had lost her left arm at the Battle of Proxima. She had lost friends at New Sol. She had lost everything except her purpose. They took New Sol, she said. They will not take anything else. From this day forward, we do not just defend. We attack, we take the war to them. We hit their shipyards, their supply lines, their homeworlds. We make them feel what our people felt. We make them bleed until they beg for peace. Her officers cheered. Her soldiers cheered. Across the fleet, humans and allies raised their voices together. The war was not over. It was entering its final phase, and humanity would not stop until the hegemony fell on New Sol. In a basement beneath a ruined building, a group of resistance fighters gathered around a radio. They heard Yunji's speech. They heard the promise of liberation. A young woman looked at her comrades and smiled grimly. They are coming for us, she said. We just have to survive until then. They would survive. Humans always did. The final battle came at Asteria Prime. For 12,000 years, this world had been the heart of the hegemony. The council ruled here. The treaties were signed here. Every major decision that shaped the galaxy was made in its halls. To capture Asteria Prime was to kill the hegemony itself. Admiral Kong Yunji led the human fleet. 500 ships crewed by humans and allies. Ven warships flew beside human cruisers. Wanderer scouts guided the formation through secret routes. Species that had never worked together now fought as one. Opposite them waited the hegemony's last great armada. 800 ships drawn from every member species. The best captains. The finest weapons. Everything they had left. Commander Rowe stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the human fleet emerge from faster-than-light travel. They appeared all at once, filling the space before Asteria Prime like a storm cloud. He had fought many enemies in his long life. He had never seen anything like this. They actually came, his second officer said. They are actually attacking the capital. Rowe nodded slowly. Of course they did. They do not know how to do anything else. Before the battle began, Admiral Yunji broadcast a message. Her voice reached every ship on both sides. It reached Asteria Prime below. It reached worlds across the galaxy. Everyone heard what she had to say. We did not ask for this war, she began. We did not want to conquer anyone. We just wanted to exist. to grow, to explore, to reach for the stars the same as everyone else. But you would not let us. You called us primitive. You called us dangerous. You tried to put us in a cage, and when that did not work, you tried to destroy us." She paused. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned. "Here is what you never understood. Humanity does not break. We bend, we bleed. We fall, but we always get back up, always. You have thrown everything you have at us, and we are still here. We are still fighting. We will always be fighting. Because that is who we are. Today we are not fighting for territory. We are not fighting for power or revenge. We are fighting for the right of every species to choose their own path, to determine their own future. No masters. No cages. No one telling us what we are allowed to become. If that makes us dangerous, then yes. We are exactly what you feared." She raised her hand and gave the order. "All ships, attack." The Battle of Asteria Prime lasted 12 hours. It was the largest space engagement in galactic history. Ships by the hundreds clashed and burned. Weapons fire lit the void like endless lightning. The hegemony fought with desperation. They were defending their home, their history, everything they had built. Their ships were powerful and their crews were skilled. For the first hours, the battle was even. Then things began to change. Human ships did not fight alone. They fought in groups, covering each other, supporting each other, sacrificing for each other. When one ship was damaged, others moved to protect it. When a captain fell, the crew kept fighting. They did not need orders. They knew what to do. The hegemony fleet had no such unity. Each species fought its own way. Each captain followed his own instincts. They were allies of convenience, not brothers in arms. When the pressure grew, they began to crack. Admiral Yunji saw the opening and struck. She drove her assault group straight at the enemy flagship. 30 ships against 100. It was reckless. It was insane. It was exactly what humans did. Her ship, the Dawn of Earth, took hit after hit. Decks collapsed. Systems failed. Crew died at their stations. She kept going. Commander Rowe saw her coming. He ordered all weapons to focus on her ship. He threw everything he had at her. It was not enough. The Dawn of Earth reached the enemy flagship and fired everything it had left. The hegemony flagship broke apart in a ball of fire. Rowe died at his station, still fighting, still giving orders that no one could follow. With their flagship gone, the hegemony fleet lost coordination. Ships began to scatter. Some tried to run. Others surrendered. The battle turned into a rout. Admiral Yunji did not chase them. She let them go. Enough had died. Below, on Asteria Prime, the ruling council watched their fleet burn. They saw their power disappear in fire and smoke. They saw the end of everything they had known. An aide approached the senior council member with a communicator. "The human admiral wishes to speak with you." The council member took the device with shaking hands. "What do you want?" Yunji's voice was tired but firm. "I want this to end. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Your people will not be harmed. Your worlds will not be occupied. But the hegemony is over. The old way is finished. Accept that, and we can build something better. Refuse, and we will keep fighting until there is nothing left to fight for. Choose." Silence stretched for a long moment. "We surrender." The war was over. In the weeks that followed, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on Asteria Prime, humans, then wanderers, hegemony species, and dozens of others. They came to build something new. They called it the Galactic Confederation. No masters and no subjects. Every species with an equal voice. Every world free to choose its own path. It was not perfect. It was a beginning. Park Do-yun was there for the signing ceremony. He was old now, his hair white and his face lined, but his mind was still sharp and his heart was still strong. He had lived to see humanity rise from a quarantined world to a galactic power. Beside him stood the people who had made it possible. Captain Jiwoo, who had built the alliance. Admiral Yunji, who had won the war. Dr. Sahi, who had given them the tools. They were the generation that had carried humanity to the stars. After the ceremony, Do-Yun stood on a balcony and looked up at the sky. The stars looked different here. Unfamiliar constellations, strange colors. A sky that no human had ever seen before. Jiwoo joined him. She was older now, too. Gray showed in her hair. Lines marked her face. But her eyes still held the same fire. "What are you thinking?" she asked. Do-Yun smiled. "I am thinking about all the places we have never been. All the things we have never seen. All the questions we have never asked. And I am thinking that we will find them. We will see them. We will ask them." He looked at her. "That is what we do. We reach. We explore. We grow. We never stop." Jiwoo nodded. The hegemony was afraid of that. They saw what we might become and they tried to stop us. Yes. They failed. Do-Yun looked back at the stars. They were right to be afraid. Not because we are dangerous. Because we are unstoppable. Give humanity a challenge and we will overcome it. Give us a limit and we will break it. Give us a door and we will open it. That is our nature. That is our gift. And our curse? Perhaps. We will see. He put his hand on her shoulder. But for now, let us enjoy what we have won. Peace, freedom, a chance to find out who we really are. Below them, the new confederation celebrated. Species that had been enemies now danced together. Old wounds began to heal. Hope spread like sunrise. Humanity had been unleashed. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, in the vast darkness between stars, there were still wonders waiting to be found. Humanity would find them. They always did.